So okay, so you're not making money. Yeah. No one's making money.
So Chris then says, he calls me one day, and I'm going, oh shit, and he says, Zmuda, I got the greatest job for you. There's a very famous screenwriter, right, by the name of Norman Wexler. In my book, I call him Mr. X.
Yeah.
Okay, and he needs an assistant, and he's going to pay you. He's going to pay you $2,000 a week. I went, what? What are you talking about? It's $2,000 a week. You got to jump on this right away, and he's going to teach you how to write screenplays. Now, this Norman Wexler wrote a movie called Joe, with big film in the 60s.
With Peter Boyle.
Peter Boyle.
That's an insane movie.
He wrote Mandingo. He wrote Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah.
He wrote Serpico.
Yeah.
The list goes on. This is a major guy, but he says, but I just want you to know, you'd be perfect for this movie, but he is a little eccentric. I said, okay. I said, well, how can I meet this guy? He says, tomorrow at 2:00 in the afternoon, it's like Wednesday afternoon, he's going to be at the Improv here, in the afternoon, and meet him, talk to him right away before he hires somebody else. I said, okay, yeah, great.
Yeah.
So, the next day comes, and I'm sitting there, and I get to the Improv about an hour early because I don't miss anything. Chris is in there, the cleaning up the floors, but the place was open because Bud would have drinks open for a lot of the riffraff off the street. There's some homeless guy in the corner, Remember this homeless guy in the corner? He had no shoes on, and his feet were black, and Bud's giving him a bowl of soup or something. And I'm sitting there, and and 2:00 comes. The guy doesn't come in. 2:15, 2:30, and I'm going, fuck, this is bullshit. And I call Chris up. I said, hey, the guy didn't show. Norman Wexler didn't show up. He said, are you sure? Yeah. He said, well, are you sure he's not there? Yeah. I said, well, describe him. And I said, no, there's only some old bum here with his shoes and black feet and everything. He said, that's him.
No, come on.
That's him.
Yeah.
So I go up to him and introduce myself, and I'm going to give my Norman Wexler impression.
Yeah.
And I said, hi, Mr. Wexler, I'm Bob Zmuda. You are an asshole. You're looking for a job? Okay, here's the test. He says, can you keep your fucking mouth shut for 5 fucking minutes? Let's start with that. So I'm sitting across from the guy, and the guy is literally, he has no shoes on. This is winter. He has no socks on. His feet are black from walking around the streets of New York, right? Now, of course, he had a limo sitting out there because he's very rich. Totally eccentric. He has this outfit, this outfit with kind of like medals, and he's designed his own military outfit.
Come on.
Norman Wexler. And so I'm sitting there, and he says, and so after 5 minutes, and I'm sitting there, and he's timing me. He's got this Rolex, and he's timing me. And after 5 minutes, he looks and he says, okay, one question. What nationality are you? Now, I'm Wexler. I know he's Jewish and everything, right? And I'm going to say Polak. And I'm getting this fucking job, I put his relatives in the ovens, you know? So I said,
you did it. Your family.
My family did it. So I said, Polish. He goes, Polish. He says, you're hired. I always felt the real reason Hitler wanted to destroy the Poles is because they were developing extraordinary powers of ESP.
Come on.
This is what the guy says. Now we go out to the limo.
Yeah.
Limo waiting for us. We go inside. My job, which lasted about 3 weeks, was every morning we'd get up. We'd go, when the bank opened, we'd go in. I'd go in with a suitcase, and we would pull out anywhere between $25,000 to $30,000 a day to have in this suitcase. This money would be used. We'd go through that money every day, would be used to pay people off, not to throw him in jail or not to try to beat him up. I'll explain what he was doing here. Wexler, Serpico, Saturday Night Fever. He was known as, besides those films, he was known as the doctor. In other words, if you had a screenplay, if you were doing a movie and you had a screenplay that took place out on the streets and you needed real street dialogue, there's only one guy that could write it.
Yeah.
And it was Wexler. Because when people get upset and everything, they don't talk like guys write things.
Yeah.
They breathe differently, and he had this ear for it. And the reason he had the ear for it is because my job was he'd hire assholes like me, and my job was to follow him around all day with a Panasonic tape recorder going 24 hours. Okay. And then I would do is then he would continually all day get in confrontations with people. I mean, big time confrontations where people wanted to kill him. Right. And I would record this. After about every 4 days, I would take all those tapes and send it to a stenographer who would break it down. And this is how he would get his dialogue for the motion picture.
Come on.
This is Wexler. Now,
I'm waiting for a fucking punchline.
Yeah, well, wait. And now on my back, I have another tape recorder. Okay. And that is playing back. And I got my watch. I got this all timed out. Every hour it goes off. When I had the 60 and 90 minute, cassette tapes to put in. And in the back, I am playing back to the second of what we recorded 24 hours previously. And one day I said to Norman, Norman, let me ask you, why are we playing that back? Why? He says, because I want to hear if my brain has grown any in the last 24 hours. But we would record these things, and now we would hit the streets of New York and get in all these confrontations. Example, he'd rent limos, didn't have his own limo. Every other day he'd rent a limo, jump in a limo. One day it's like snowing like hell in New York, and a lot of time the limo driver, he wants that window down because he wants to hear who this guy is and listen,
Yeah.
So Norman rolls down his windows and the snow's blowing in on us.
Yeah.
Now this limo's costing him an arm and a leg.
Right.
But you might as well be on a fucking bicycle. Mm-hmm. The snow we're driving and the snow's coming in. Well, the limo driver, he puts his window up. He doesn't want this cold air coming in there.
Yeah.
Norman's, put that window down. I'm paying you. Put your windows down. So we're driving around New York, and the car is just filling with snow. The limo in the front, and finally the guy says, "I can't take." He says, "I don't care what you're paying me. I'm freezing my ass. Get out of my fucking limo."
Yeah.
But he said, "What are you? You fucking Jew hater?" And he'd get at these fucking fights and whatnot. I mean, it was fucking nuts. One day we go down to the village.
This is fucking nuts.
We go down to Little Italy.
Yeah.
We go down to Little Italy, and there's one of the Italian restaurants, and the signs on it says closed.
Yeah.
And there's like a mafioso guy sitting in front of it. We see people going inside, though. It's a party for one of the mafioso's moms, who's like 85 years old. Mm-hmm. Right? So
this is Little Italy when it was really Little Italy.
When it really was,
the clubs were there. And
yeah. And so he says he sees this line of people going in, so he stops the limo, and we get out. And he says, okay, and he looks filthy and long hair and everything. And so, but he walks in and they said, excuse me, this is a private party. He says, he's a private party. He says, oh, no, I was good friends with her. I'm good friends with her, So they let us in. So we're sitting there, and there's maybe about 18 people. This is big time. The old lady's up there. They got a birthday cake and everything. I'm sitting next to Norman.
With your microphone?
Oh, yes. Oh, the things. I'm 24 hours recording. I just changed things.
Come on.
It never stops. And so what happens? He puts the tape in, and at one point, Norman, and I don't know, I think he knows these people.
You didn't suspect anything?
No, I don't know. No.
Yeah.
And they let him, I don't know, how he even knew about this thing was going on. And he opens up, he always had this crazy suitcase that he carried, a little suitcase. We had nunchucks in there and porno, and then he has, and he stands up and he takes the National Enquirer, and it was that famous shot on the National Enquirer of JFK, dead.
Yeah.
On the slab.
Yeah.
That famous picture.
Yeah.
And National Enquirer ran it on the cover.
Yeah.
And the title was Mafia Kills JFK. And he stands up and he holds this newspaper up in front of everyone and he says, "Hey, Granny, look what your son's been up to." They grabbed us, I'm telling you, and they take us in the back of this I thought we are dead. I mean, the old lady's crying. These are mafia guys. This is her fucking birthday.
Yeah.
They're so fucking upset.
Yeah.
They're going to kill us.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I did, luckily I was smart, and I told him, I lied to the guy whose mother it was, who was beside himself. I said, "You have to realize Norman's mom died last week. He wants to die. He's going and that's the only thing that affected him."
Yeah.
And they threw us out of there. But this is what would take place continually. Now, I got one. This is the killer. So one day we are driving now in a little suburb outside of New York. I can't remember what it was. And we're in the limo once again.
Westchester or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And there's a little bakery. It's about 3 PM. Yeah. And there's a little bakery. And he says, pull over. He says, I want a donut. So we get out. And I go inside. I think, okay, it's just going to be a fucking donut. We'll go in. You know, he says, your tape running? I go, yeah, of course. Okay, good. He goes inside. And the little bell rings, right? And there's like maybe 3 or 4 old ladies lined up buying their stuff. But he walks in. He says, I want a glazed donut, you know? And the woman, I think her name was like Flo or something like that, behind the counter, she looks at him and she says, excuse me, sir, you'll have to take a number like everyone else. Now, you don't say this to Norman Wexler. And this what really scared me. He takes the number and he waits. And I'm thinking to myself, you have no idea. The devil has just walked in. Yeah. You have no idea. And he waits. Yeah. And finally, one of the women done, and she says, yes. She says, okay. You know, he's been a good boy now. She says, okay, what was that, a glazed donut you said? No, I've changed my mind. Says, I want those and these, and he starts pointing to everything in the cases and whatnot. And she's, and I want that, and I want all those cakes and all those breads, and he's going on like this, and she says, and she realizes he doesn't like her, she doesn't like him. She says, sir, we're not here to waste people's time, what is it you want? She says, I'm not fooling with that. He says, Zmuda, tell her. And I say, miss, trust me, he wants to buy it all. Open the case, and I open the case, $30,000. Right? And we start counting and whatnot. So he starts buying everything. Well, now the other women who are working there they go back and they get the baker who owns the place, and he comes out. And Norman sees him and gives the guy, $1,000 just because it's his place. Yeah. So the guy just thinks this is like Monty Hall from Make a Deal. It's just walked in.
Where's Alan Funt?
Yeah. So he's buying every fucking thing in the front. And then once he does all that, we go back into the kitchen area. Yeah. And now he wants to buy what's in the walk-in freezers and everything.
Come on.
Tons of everything. And you got the bakers there. Yeah. And he decides now, he not only wants to buy the whole place out, he wants to go through every ounce of sugar, every ounce of flour, every cup of milk. So he's going to have them making this stuff and everything else. I get on the phone. I get a U-Haul truck to come and pick this shit up. Yeah. We're there for hours where this is going on. And people, and he says, Zmuda, go get beer for the guy. So I go, and these little, bakers, they're drinking. Everybody's high as a kite. And now he starts with the women there. He says, I'll tell you what. He says to the baker, he says, it's so hot in here. And it was really hot in there. They had those ovens blazing. Yeah. Things were coming out there going right into the fucking truck. So what happens is that they come out, I'll never forget this, is that, he says to the baker, he says, it's hot. He says, hey, Luigi, he says, tell you what, $500, take your pants off. You got underwear on? Yeah, okay, it's hot and take it off. Yeah. So he gets these guys just to their underwear and their shirts off, give for like $1,500. Yeah. They're all laughing, they're drinking, they got their Dago tees on. These are old guys, the old bakers, And then he starts with the women who are working there, who are the ones, the cashiers and everything. He says to them, I'll tell you what, it's hot in here. You don't have to keep your girdle, because the old lady says, keep your girdle and bra on, but I'll tell you what, you take that blouse off, and Zmuda here is going to give you $1,500. Yeah. Count it out, Zmuda. Yeah. And they're all, they're going, what the hell, it's all big one, except this Flo, the one who couldn't stand him. And I'll never forget it. He focuses on her at the end, and he focuses on her, and she won't do it. He said, let me ask you this, Flo. What does your husband do for a living? She won't talk. Another woman said, he's a truck driver. It was a truck driver. So let's say maybe he makes, and back then it was maybe like $19,000 a year. This was fucking years ago. Yeah. And he says, he's on the fucking road. He's popping pills to stay fucking awake. $18,000. I'm offering you $5,000 to take off that blouse and to take off that skirt, and you can't do it! Yeah. And the other people around say, Flo, dude, he gets up to about $15,000. That woman is sitting there. She won't undo one fucking button. Yeah. And her brain will never be the same. I could see it in her eyes. Yeah. She hates him. She's tearing and everything else. She won't do it. And I'll never forget walking out of the place. Finally, he went through everything. Everything was done. There wasn't anything left in the place. Everything was in the U-Haul truck. We were leaving, and this is when I realized the guy was fucking total genius. We walk out of the place, and I'm the last guy. Right, everybody else is counting their money. They're all drunk. They're in their underwear and bras and girdles. Flo's sitting there, dressed perfectly. She'll never be the same. And I walk out and I look back, and then I see the genius of it all. He left one thing: one glazed donut. True fucking story.
Come on, Zmuda.
That's Norman. Well, anyway, so now Wexler would come.
I have to believe that.